I watched my own caretaker poison me. Not in real time, not standing there helpless, but through a screen, from a camera I had hidden myself. The angle was crooked, slightly tilted inside a porcelain sugar jar I hadn't used in years, a useless decoration, or so she thought, but it showed enough, more than enough. Sabine Vosen stood in my kitchen like she always did, calm, precise, controlled. Her movements weren't rushed, they never were. That was part of what made her so convincing, so believable, so dangerous. She glanced once over her shoulder, not nervous, just careful. Then she reached into her pocket and placed a small white tablet on the counter. She didn't hesitate, didn't inspect it, didn't question it. She crushed it, slowly, deliberately, using the back of a spoon. The sound was soft, almost delicate, like she'd done it many times before, because she had. Then she stirred it into my chamomile tea, the same tea that had been making me weaker, slower, smaller. "Not much longer," she murmured into her phone. Her voice was low, intimate, certain. "She's already weaker than she thinks." I paused the video, and for the first time in days, my hands didn't shake. "Hello, dear. Grace here. Let me ask you something. If someone smiled at you, cared for you, helped you walk, fed you, tucked you in, and then poisoned you when you weren't looking, at what moment would you stop trusting them? Think about that, because I didn't stop soon enough. My name is Helena Medei. I am 66 years old, and until 3 nights ago, I thought I was simply getting older, a little slower, a little forgetful, nothing unusual, nothing dangerous, nothing that needed questioning. And Sabine had been my caretaker for 3 years, 3 years of quiet control disguised as care. She arrived on a rainy afternoon, I remember that clearly. The smell of wet pavement drifting into the hallway, her shoes neatly wiped before stepping inside, her voice calm, too calm. Her references were perfect, too perfect, but at the time that felt like reassurance. Now I understand. Perfection doesn't comfort me anymore. It warns me. That first evening she made lentil broth, thick, warm, fragrant with cumin and something slightly bitter underneath it. "Family recipe," she said with a soft smile. I liked her immediately. That was my first mistake. At the beginning, everything she did felt helpful, efficient, thoughtful, necessary. She organized my medication with perfect handwriting, labeled everything, morning, afternoon, evening. She rearranged my kitchen so even the smallest jar had a purpose. She remembered things I hadn't said out loud. Earl Grey in the morning, chamomile at night, no sugar after dinner. She polished the banister until it gleamed, used citrus oil that made the house smell like sunlight, like something alive. People told me I was lucky. My daughter said it most. "You finally have someone reliable, Mother. Let her handle things." And I did, because it was easier, because it felt safe, because I trusted her. That was my second mistake. At first, the changes were small, almost invisible. My phone would ring, and before I could reach it, Sabine already had. "Just a telemarketer," she'd say. Call ended, screen turned away. I didn't question it. Not then. Letters stopped arriving. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe they just never reached me. My neighbor, Moira Fennick, stopped visiting. She used to bring plum tarts every Sunday. We'd sit in the kitchen, talk about nothing important, laugh about everything. Sabine told me Moira said I seemed tired, that I needed rest. I didn't remember saying that, but I accepted it, because it sounded reasonable. That's how it works. Not force, not threats, just small shifts in reality, until you stop questioning them. Then things started disappearing. A silver bookmark, my fountain pen, replaced with a cheaper one, same shape, different feel. I told myself I was misplacing things, that I was aging, that memory fades. That's what Sabine told me too. You've been more forgetful lately, Helena. Her voice always soft, always reassuring, always right on the surface, but something underneath wasn't right. The dizziness started slowly. At first I ignored it, then it returned, again and again, each time after my evening tea. I nearly fell on the stairs once. Sabine caught me. Of course she did. Her grip firm, her timing perfect. "Careful," she whispered. "You mustn't rush." I remember looking at her, really looking. Her face was concern. Her eyes were calculation. That night I couldn't sleep, not properly. My thoughts felt distant, soft, wrapped in something heavy, like my mind was being gently dulled. I walked into the kitchen and saw my pill organizer, out of place. One pill looked different enough to not alarm, just different enough to notice. That was the moment something inside me shifted. Not fear, not panic, awareness. I didn't confront her, I didn't accuse, I didn't react, because that would have been my third mistake. Instead, I smiled. The next morning, I thanked her for breakfast. I told her I felt tired, that I needed more rest, that I trusted her judgment, and she smiled back, satisfied. That was the moment I knew, not what she was doing, not yet, but I knew something was wrong, and more importantly, I knew she didn't think I did. So I stopped being the patient and became the observer. I went into town, pretending to buy a shawl. Instead, I walked into a small electronics shop, tucked between a bakery and a stationery store. The young man barely looked at me until I asked the right question. Which compact camera records best in low light? He blinked. Then he took me seriously. I bought two. One went into the porcelain sugar jar in my kitchen, the other into a hollowed-out cookbook in my study, a book Sabine never touched because she preferred her own recipes. For 2 days I watched, and on the third night I saw everything, and that was the moment I realized I might not live long enough to prove it. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a minute. I sat in my study, the lamp turned low, the rest of the house wrapped in silence that no longer felt peaceful. It felt staged. Every sound had meaning now, every shadow felt placed, and on the screen in front of me, truth. I replayed the footage again, and again, and again, not because I doubted it, but because I needed to understand it. Sabine didn't rush, she didn't hesitate, she didn't improvise, she followed a pattern. That was the most dangerous part. This wasn't a mistake, this was routine. But the third time I watched it, I noticed something new, something I had missed before. Her voice, not what she said, who she said it to. "Carter," she whispered, soft, familiar, almost affectionate. "Just a little longer." I paused the video. The room felt colder, not physically, mentally, because now this wasn't just betrayal, it was coordination. She wasn't alone. That realization changed everything, because one person can be unpredictable, but two means planning, two means structure, two means a timeline. I leaned back slowly in my chair. The faint smell of chamomile drifted in from the kitchen, untouched, waiting, just like they were, waiting for me to weaken so slowly that no one would question it. Not tonight. I didn't drink it. I didn't sleep. I didn't move more than I needed to. I just watched and listened and thought. By morning, I had already made my next decision. I would not confront her, not yet, because confrontation is noise, and noise alerts predators. So instead, I became quieter. At breakfast, I moved slower, not dramatically, just enough. A slight tremor in my hand, a delayed response, a pause before lifting the spoon. Sabine noticed immediately. Of course she did. "You look pale today, Helena," she said gently. Her voice was perfect, concern wrapped in softness. "I didn't sleep well," I replied. I let my voice thin slightly, like it had lost strength overnight. Her eyes lingered on me, measuring, calculating. Then she smiled. "I'll adjust your evening dose. It should help." There it was, not concern, control. I nodded, as if reassured. Inside, something cold settled into place. The rest of the day became a performance. I stayed in the sitting room, wrapped in a shawl I didn't need, eyes half closed, breathing slow, watching everything. Sabine moved through the house exactly as before, but now I could see it. Every action had intent, every pause had purpose. She wasn't caring for me, she was managing me. Around noon, my phone rang. I didn't move fast enough because I wasn't supposed to. She was already there. "Wrong number," she said lightly. The call ended before I could see the screen, but this time I didn't let it go. Later, when she stepped into the garden, I moved, not slowly, not weakly, precisely. I went straight to the console table, picked up my phone, checked the call log. Empty. Not just the last call, all of them. Gone. I stared at the screen, and for the first time, I felt something sharper than fear. Clarity. That wasn't care, that was control. I placed the phone back exactly where she left it. Angle, position, distance, details matter. By the time she returned, I was already back in my chair, still, quiet, harmless. She entered holding herbs, rosemary, thyme, and something darker, something unfamiliar. "For dinner," she said. I smiled faintly. Of course. That evening, I made my next move. When she brought my tea, I thanked her, waited, listened to her footsteps fade. Then I stood, walked to the window, and poured the entire cup into the soil of the fern, slowly, carefully, every drop. The scent was sweet, harmless, convincing, but I no longer trusted anything she gave me. The next morning, I woke up clear, no dizziness, no fog, no heaviness in my thoughts. That confirmed everything. She wasn't just making me feel weak, she was making me look weak. And that meant one thing: someone else was watching. That afternoon, I reviewed the footage again, more carefully this time, frame by frame, looking beyond her, around her, past her, and then I saw him, just a shadow at first, a movement near the back entrance, tall, still, waiting. I leaned closer to the screen, paused, zoomed. There, a silhouette, not inside the house, not fully outside, positioned, watching. Seconds later, Sabine stepped into frame. She opened the back door, just slightly, not enough to invite, just enough to communicate. "Not today," she whispered. Her tone had changed. No softness, no warmth, just precision. "She's still aware. Still aware." The words echoed in my mind. So that was the timeline. They weren't just planning something. They were waiting. Waiting for the moment I couldn't stop them. Waiting for the moment I wouldn't understand. Waiting for the moment I wouldn't exist in any meaningful way. I sat back slowly, and something inside me stopped resisting the truth. Up until that moment, a part of me had still hoped. Misunderstanding, mistake, accident, something explainable. But not today. She's still aware. That is not a mistake. That is timing. That is intent. That is a plan. I turned off the screen and sat in silence. The house sounded the same, clock ticking, refrigerator humming, floorboards settling, but none of it felt the same, because now I was no longer living in my home. I was inside their plan. I stood slowly, walked to the mirror, looked at myself. Silver hair, slightly tired eyes, but clear, very clear. "She's still aware," I repeated quietly. Good, let them believe that wouldn't last, because now I knew something they didn't. I wasn't fading, I was watching, and they had just made a mistake. They showed me there were two of them. By the time I finished reviewing the footage, I already knew one thing for certain. This wasn't just about my health, it was about control. And control, when done properly, leaves a paper trail. That afternoon, I made a decision that would change everything. I needed proof that existed outside this house, something they couldn't erase, something they couldn't explain away. I needed facts, not impressions, not suspicions, facts. So I waited. I waited until Sabine stepped out again. She had started doing that more frequently. Short walks, odd hours, always with her phone, always just long enough. The moment the door closed, I moved, straight to my study, door locked, phone in hand. I dialed a number I hadn't used in years. Gideon Strayed speaking. His voice was the same as I remembered, calm, measured, professional. "Mr. Strayed," I said quietly, "this is Helena McDay." A pause, recognition. "Mrs. McDay, of course. How can I assist you?" I didn't waste time. "I need you to check my accounts." Another pause, subtle, careful. "What exactly am I looking for?" "Anything unusual." My voice didn't shake. "Small transfers, irregular patterns, anything that shouldn't be there." Silence, then typing, fast, efficient, unemotional. Seconds passed, then his tone changed, slightly, but enough. "Mrs. McDay?" "Yes, there have been movements." Movements, such a polite word. "How much?" I asked. "Individually insignificant," he said, "carefully spaced, below alert thresholds." He paused. "Collectively," another pause, "just over 23,000. 23,000. Not stolen, extracted, slowly, quietly, like everything else." I closed my eyes for a moment, not in shock, in confirmation. "Do you recognize the receiving accounts?" I asked. "No, but I can trace them further with your authorization. You have it." No hesitation. "And Mr. Strayed, yes, restrict all outgoing transfers immediately." Done. When the call ended, the room felt different, not smaller, sharper, because now this wasn't just suspicion anymore, this was theft. I stood slowly, walked to the bookshelf, pulled out an old leather ledger, my husband's, Edmund McDay. He used to record everything, every expense, every investment, every detail. "Precision is protection," he would say. I opened to a blank page, picked up a pen, and began writing. Dates, amounts, patterns, observations. No emotions, only facts. If this was going to end, it would end clean. By the time Sabine returned, everything was back in place. Ledger hidden, posture softened, performance resumed. "Helena," she called softly, "are you resting?" "Yes," I replied, letting my voice drift, just enough. She appeared in the doorway, studying me, then smiling. "You should save your strength." I smiled back, and this time I meant it, just not in the way she thought, because now I knew something else. They weren't just weakening me, they were preparing me. The next morning, I let her win. Not everything, just enough. I spilled my tea, a small mistake, natural, clumsy. "Oh," I murmured softly. Sabine was beside me instantly. "It's all right," she said gently. "These things happen." Her hands moved quickly, too quickly, like she had expected it. "I feel off today," I added, letting my voice thin. There it was again, that flicker, satisfaction. "We'll adjust your dosage," she said. "You'll be more comfortable." Comfortable. I nodded. By noon, she brought me lunch. Broth, bread, something herbal. I didn't touch it. I let the spoon rest in my hand, still, unmoving. When she returned, "You haven't eaten." I forgot. A pause, then the smile. "I'll remind you." "Of course you will." That afternoon, I made my next move. When she went upstairs, I stopped pretending. No slow steps, no weakness. I walked straight to the kitchen. The cup from the night before sat in the sink. I rinsed it lightly, then reached behind the flour tin. The vial, small, clear, sealed. Inside, a sample of the soil from the plant where I had poured the tea. Residue, faint but real, enough. I slipped it into my cardigan pocket. Everything returned exactly as before. Details matter. By the time she came back down, I was already in my chair, exactly where she expected me to be. "Helena," she said softly, "you should rest." "I am." Then I looked at her, carefully, not too direct. "Have I been more forgetful lately?" She stepped closer. "Yes," she said gently, "a little. Do you think I'm getting worse?" Her expression softened. "Perfect." "No," she said, "but we should be careful." Careful, such a useful word. That evening, something changed, not in me, in her. She made a call earlier than usual. I heard it through the study wall. Her voice, lower, faster. "She's slipping," she said. "Faster now." A pause. "No, not yet." Another pause. "We need it signed while she still can." Signed. I didn't move, didn't react, but inside, everything aligned. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about authority, control, permanent. I waited 10 minutes, then stepped into the hallway. "Everything all right?" I asked softly. She smiled. "Of course." But now I knew they weren't waiting anymore. They were preparing. That night, I locked myself in the study, not to hide, to act. I wrote everything: names, Sabine Vossen, Carter, transfers, patterns, footage, clear, structured, precise. Then I reached for a second number, one I hadn't planned to use, not yet, but now it was time. The line rang twice. Detective Alaric Vane. His voice was direct, alert. "My name is Helena McDay," I said calmly, "and I believe someone is trying to take my life." I paused, slowly enough that no one would question it. Silence, not disbelief, interest. "Go on," he said. So I did. For 20 minutes I told him everything, not as a victim, as a witness. He didn't interrupt, not once. That told me I had chosen correctly. When I finished, there was a pause. Then, "Do you have recordings?" "Yes." "A sample?" "Yes." "Good." His tone sharpened. "Do not confront her." "I won't." "Do not change your routine." "I understand. People like this," he paused, "get nervous when patterns break." "I know. I'll need copies of everything," he said, "but more importantly, we need her to feel safe." Safe. That word again. "We're not just proving intent," he continued. "We're catching her in the act." I looked down at my hands, steady. "She's planning something soon," I said. "She mentioned signatures." A pause. Then we let her proceed. His voice was calm, controlled, on our terms. When the call ended, I sat there for a long moment, and for the first time since this began, I wasn't alone. The next morning, I gave her exactly what she needed: weakness. I stayed in bed longer than usual. When she entered, I blinked slowly, like the light hurt. "You should have called me," she said. "You can't strain yourself." "I must have forgotten," I murmured. She helped me sit up. "Let me handle things," she said softly. "You don't need to worry any more." I nodded, and inside. The next morning, I woke up before her. That hadn't happened in weeks. No heaviness, no fog, no delay between thought and movement, just clarity, sharp, quiet, precise. I sat up slowly, not because I needed to, but because she expected me to. From the kitchen, I could already hear movement, soft, controlled, measured. She was preparing. Good. So was I. I stood, slipped on my robe, and steadied myself lightly against the wall. Not for balance, for performance. Every step mattered now. Every gesture had to match the version of me she believed in. By the time I reached the hallway, she was already there, carrying a tray. "Good morning, Helena," Sabine said softly, as if nothing had changed. "Good morning," I replied, letting my voice trail slightly behind. She placed the tray in front of me. Tea, toast, something light with quince preserve. The same routine, the same illusion, but this time I could see the tension underneath it. Her movements were just slightly faster. Her eyes checked me more often. She wasn't waiting anymore. She was closing. "How did you sleep?" she asked softly. "A little," I said. "I feel strange." She leaned in slightly. "Strange how?" I paused. Let the silence stretch. "Distant," I whispered. That was the right answer. I saw it land. "Then we should take care of everything today," she said gently, "before it gets worse." There it was. I nodded. Inside, everything locked into place. After breakfast, untouched of course, she disappeared into the study. When she returned, the folder was in her hands, thicker now, prepared. "Helena," she said, sitting beside me, "let's not delay this." "Delay what?" I asked softly. "Just a few formalities, authorizations to make things easier for you." "Easier?" Such a careful word. I reached for the folder, let my fingers hesitate slightly. Will it take long? I asked softly. No, she said quickly. Just a few signatures. Just a few. I took the pen she offered, held it, paused, then lowered it again. Maybe after tea. My hands feel unsteady. A mistake. A small one, but I saw it. Her jaw tightened, just slightly. Then the softness returned. Of course, she said. I'll bring it. She stood, walked to the kitchen. This time I didn't wait. I followed. Not all the way, just enough to see her reflection in the glass cabinet. She didn't know I was there. I watched her reach into her pocket. The tablet, white, small, crushed. The same motion, the same calm precision. Then the phone. Everything's set, she said quietly. He'll sign today. He, not she. My breath stilled. In that moment, the plan shifted. This wasn't just about control. This was replacement, power of attorney, total authority, legal disappearance, while still alive. I stepped back before she could turn, returned to my chair. By the time she came in, I was exactly where she expected me to be, waiting, weak, fading, easy. The performance resumed, but now we were both watching her, and this time she wasn't in control. I lifted the cup again, let it touch my lips, didn't drink. Steam fogged my glasses. Perfect. Then I leaned back, closed my eyes. Minutes passed. Helena? She asked softly. I let time stretch. Yes. You should rest a moment, she said. Then we'll finish. Finish? I repeated faintly. Papers shuffled. Preparation. I opened my eyes slowly. I'm ready, I whispered. That did it. I saw it clearly. Not just satisfaction, anticipation. She placed the folder in my lap, handed me the pen again. Just sign where I've marked. I looked down. Dense text, legal language, names, transfers, authority, control, permanent. I let my hand hover, then stopped. What is this one? I asked softly. She leaned in, too quickly. Standard authorization, she said. I nodded. And this? A precaution. Her patience was thinning. I lowered the pen again. I can't see clearly, I whispered. That made her pause. Everything feels distant, I added. Her expression changed. Concern on the surface, urgency underneath. Then we shouldn't delay then, she said gently. Let me guide you. Guide. She placed her hand over mine, warm, steady, controlling. That was her mistake. Contact, confidence. I let the pen touch the paper, just enough. Then a knock, sharp, loud, unexpected. Sabine froze. Not completely, just enough. We both turned. Another knock, more insistent. Her grip tightened, then released. Stay here, she said quickly, too quickly. I let the pen slip from my fingers. Yes, I murmured faintly. She moved toward the door, measured, controlled, but I could see it now, the tension, the recalculation. This wasn't part of her plan. Good. I stayed exactly as she left me, still, weak, waiting. The door opened. Good afternoon, a voice said, calmly. Detective Alaric Vane. Silence. Not complete, but enough. Sabine didn't speak immediately. That told me everything. I believe we need to talk, he added. She recovered quickly. Of course, she said smoothly. How can I help you? He stepped inside, slow, observing everything without appearing to do so. The table, the folder, the pen, details. Routine welfare check, he said calmly. Welfare? She replied lightly. That's not necessary. She's resting. I'll determine that. No anger, no force, just certainty. That unsettled her more than anything. She stepped aside. He walked toward me. "Mrs. Madey, may I speak with you?" I blinked slowly. "Yes." He crouched slightly, balanced, controlled. "Are you feeling all right today?" "A little tired," I murmured. He nodded. "Do you know who I am?" I looked at him, and for a fraction of a second I let the clarity show. Yes, that was enough. He stood. Sabine saw it. The shift, the signal. Danger. "Detective," she said quickly, "I think you're misunderstanding her condition." "I didn't ask you," he replied, calm, final. That was the break. "I'm responsible for her care," she insisted, "and I will speak to her privately." No. Too fast, too direct. He turned to her. "Is there a reason you're refusing?" "I'm protecting her." "From what?" Silence. Thin. Then he reached for his phone. "Backup can come in," he said lightly. That did it. She stepped back. "I'll be in the kitchen," she said, control slipping. The moment she left, everything changed. "You have it?" he asked quietly. "Yes." No weakness now. I handed him the flash drive, then the vial. He examined both. "Good," he said. "Very good." "Is it enough?" I asked. "It's more than enough." Then we let her try again. I nodded, because I already knew. She would. She had to. People like Sabine don't stop when they're this close. They push, and when they push, they break. From the kitchen I heard movement, preparation, again. I leaned back, let my body soften, returned to the version she believed in. Weak, fading, easy. The performance resumed, but now we were both watching her, and this time she wasn't in control. The moment the officers stepped inside, the air changed. Not loudly, not dramatically, but permanently. Sabine Vosan didn't move at first. She simply stood there, as if her mind was trying to recalculate a situation that no longer had solutions. Then she smiled, a small, controlled expression, but it didn't reach her eyes. "This is a misunderstanding," she said calmly. "My employer is unwell. She needs care, not disruption." Detective Alaric Vane didn't respond immediately. He looked at her, then at me, then at the folder on the table. Every detail was already telling him the truth. "I think," he said quietly, "that will be for the courts to decide." That was when Carter stepped forward, too fast, too desperate. "You're making a mistake," he said sharply. "This is a family matter, not a criminal one." Vane turned slightly, just enough. "Step back," he said, not loud, not angry, final. Carter didn't listen. That was his second mistake. Two officers moved instantly, controlled, professional. One step and Carter was restrained. No struggle lasted more than seconds, and then the room became quiet again, but not peaceful, just finished. Sabine finally turned toward me. For the first time the mask cracked completely. Not fear, not panic, something colder. "You planned this," she said softly, not a question, a realization. I looked at her, really looked. No trembling, no confusion, just clarity. I stayed aware, that's all. Her lips tightened. Something inside her broke, but didn't fall apart. Not yet. "You were supposed to decline," she whispered. "You were supposed to trust me." I did, until it mattered not to. Silence, heavy, final. Then the officers stepped closer. "Sabine Vosan," one of them said. You are being taken into custody for financial fraud, attempted coercion, and endangerment of a vulnerable person. For a second, she didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. Then, slowly, she nodded, as if accepting something inevitable. But her eyes didn't leave me, not even as they took her arms. "You think this is over," she said quietly, almost gently. I didn't answer, because people like Sabine don't ask questions. They make predictions. Carter was being escorted out behind her, struggling less now, not because he accepted it, but because he understood. The plan was gone. The moment the door opened, fresh air entered the house. Real air, not controlled, not curated, just life. Sabine stopped at the threshold, turned once, only once, and looked at me. No softness, no mask, just truth. "You were never weak," she said. Then she was gone. The door closed. Silence returned. But this time, it stayed. Detective Vane waited until the officers left. Then he turned to me. "It's over," he said again, but softer now, more human. I nodded slowly, not in relief, in confirmation. "Not everything," I said quietly. He studied me for a moment, then understood. "You're thinking about your daughter." "Yes, because that was the second wound. Not betrayal from a stranger, but belief from someone I raised. That afternoon I made the call. Ellen arrived the next morning. No Sabine, no Carter, no controlled silence, just truth waiting at the door. She looked different the moment she stepped inside, not just guilty, smaller. "I didn't know," she said immediately. "I swear I didn't know." I didn't answer right away, because that wasn't the question anymore. We sat, no tea, no comfort, just air between us. "You trusted the wrong version of me," I said finally. Her eyes filled instantly. "I thought I was protecting you." You were, just not me." Silence again, longer this time. Then I stood up, walked to the window. Same light, different world. "I'm not angry," I said, "and I'm not asking you to fix it." She looked up, confused. "Then what do you want?" I turned slightly. "Truth, and distance until you learn the difference between care and control." That hit harder than anger ever could, because it was final, not emotional, not temporary, final. She nodded slowly, no argument left. That evening she left, quietly, no scene, no collapse, just acceptance. And for the first time in a long time, the house belonged to me completely. That night I made tea, not cautiously, not fearfully, normally. Chamomile, hot water, simple cup. I sat down alone and drank it. No poison, no control, no observation. Just tea and silence, but this time it was mine. I looked around the room, the same walls, the same chair, but everything had changed, because nothing hidden was left inside it any more, only truth, and that was enough.